But as quickly as the virus reached our homes, homegrown frontline heroes emerged. Heroes with stethoscopes, some giving their lives fighting to save others.
Our Ross Jones recently spent time with 3 nurses who say despite all the pain and suffering, they were meant to be in the ICU.
My husband's birthday is March 10th, and we were out for his birthday, and we read about those first cases that were in Michigan.
For MAUREEN GRISIUS, a year ago may as well have been a lifetime ago.
It still felt like something that was very far away.
The coronavirus hadn't yet made its way to Beaumont in Farmington Hills, but that would change quickly.
Staffing is just a struggle right now because there's so many critical care patients.
I remember seeing cars wrapped all the way around of people who were looking to get screened, to get tested.
The ages of people who are so sick starts to wear on you. My patients today weren't, these elderly people.
Her first COVID patient, a young woman who worked in healthcare. She didn't make it.
She didn't really have a lot of underlying conditions, and she went from pretty sick to incredibly sick to I don't know if she's going to make it within 24 hours.
I think the only way that we come back is that we think tomorrow maybe we'll be better. And we hang on to that.
It did feel like a war. It felt like a war took over the hospital.
Rita McDonald was at Beaumont in Royal Oak. Her 13 years of nursing could not prepare her for battling COVID. What did, she said, her training in the military.
It just felt like defeat every day. It was the hardest I'd ever worked. Physically, emotionally, I believe the ratio was 8.5 out of 10 ventilated patients died.
Almost all you saw was death.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors and nurses fell ill too. Only 3 weeks after their first case, more than 1,500 Beaumont employees and 500 nurses were sidelined by the virus. One of Rita's closest friends, a dialysis tech, would later die. It was during one of her most difficult shifts, she said, that a text from a friend would become her mantra during the pandemic.
She sent me a text and quoted a missionary, Elizabeth Elliot, who had said, "When in dark times, just do the next thing." Whenever I would get overwhelmed, I would just think, just do the next thing. And that next thing just might be holding someone's hand or making that phone call. Just do the next thing.
We were all scared to death. It was just fear-based at the beginning because nobody knew.
Jennifer Stokely was at Beaumont in Trenton, the same hospital where her pregnant daughter was a nurse too. To keep her protected, Jennifer took her spot in the ICU.
I switched and had her go to my old unit, and I said, I'll volunteer to go. I knew what I was going into. I wasn't scared.
How many patients were you losing a night?
5 to 10 to the hospital. It was brutal.
One conversation that I had with a mother who would call every day was taking care of her son. And she called and said, "Do you have any sons?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, he's my only one, so save him." And when I hung up the phone, I lost it.
People just keep lifting you up. One of the nurses I worked with today walked around and just told jokes all day because we've just been crying so much. She just wanted everybody to keep laughing and keep moving. And so that's what we're doing.
It would take 29 days before the curve would begin to bend. There would be surges to fight again in the summer and then the winter. And 1 year later, nurses like Rita and Jennifer and Maureen are still fighting, still holding hands, still doing the next thing.
The teamwork and the camaraderie was unlike I'd seen since I was in the service.
A lot of tears, a lot of anxiety for everybody, but we were all meant to be there.
Every day I work with some of the most intelligent, tough, compassionate, resilient individuals I've ever met. And that's how I know it's going to be okay.
Heroics that saved lives. Thank you, Ross. And a year